A 6-year-old son pointed to an attic. "Open! Someone's calling for help." "My sister is here," my 5-year-old son Sean said, pointing to the attic on the second floor. It was our first visit to my in-laws' house, and his words shocked me. It couldn't be. 3 months ago, my 3-year-old daughter Camila had gone missing near their house. We had searched everywhere for her, but if Sean said so, he might be right. He had a mysterious power. With trembling hands, I climbed the ladder and opened the door to the attic room. I couldn't believe the sight that greeted my eyes. It was also the moment I was freed from a long agony. I am Luna, and I am a mother who fought tooth and nail to reclaim my stolen daughter. It all started 3 months ago when Camila disappeared. "You have Sean, why don't you just forget about Camila and move on with your life?" my husband John said to me. "But it's better for you, Luna," he added. I bit my lip, unable to argue. It may have been his way of being considerate, but there was no way I could forget about Camila, who was only 3 years old. I had been blaming myself for her disappearance due to my carelessness ever since she went missing. It happened on a chilly day in March 3 months ago. "Can you go to my parents' house today?" John asked, unusually forceful, unlike his normally gentle self. "Okay, but why all of a sudden? Is something going on?" My parents seemed to be preparing for a party and wanted to see Camila too. My in-laws lived in the countryside, over 3 hours away by train. Both John and I were busy with work. He at a publishing company and me teaching English conversation, so we rarely had a chance to visit. I didn't want to go, but I should be a good daughter-in-law and show my mother-in-law, who I considered a real parent, proper respect. There was another reason I didn't visit my in-laws much. My mother-in-law had always been harsh with me, her daughter-in-law. She had disliked me from the beginning of our marriage, but after my father-in-law passed away 2 years ago, her attitude towards me had grown colder each year. But I told myself I needed to be kind to my mother-in-law, who lived alone in the countryside. So I left my husband, who said he couldn't get away from work, and headed to my in-laws with just Camila. My son, Sean, who would turn 5 soon, was a perceptive child. He had noticed that my mother-in-law was treating me harshly. He would sometimes get sad when he saw me being scolded for something, so I decided not to bring him along this time. After dropping Sean off at daycare, Camila and I set off. As soon as we arrived, my mother-in-law welcomed Camila, saying, "I finally get to see my first granddaughter." But when she faced me, her smile immediately vanished, and she gave me an icy glare. "John got himself a good-for-nothing wife. Not only did you steal my son away, you didn't even let me see my granddaughter. I'm sorry we've both been so busy with work that it's been hard to find the time. You've got some nerve putting your job before being a mother. I never liked you from the moment I met you, acting all high and mighty, looking down on us country folk." She hurled one biting remark after another at me. "I never should have let him marry a woman like you. Because of you, it's like I don't even have a son anymore." "But it was John himself who decided." "I don't want to hear it. It's all your fault," she interrupted. No matter what I said, my mother-in-law refused to accept me. After losing my father-in-law, she had become increasingly harsh, berating me more and more. If my husband had been there, he might have defended me, but this time I had no choice but to endure it. Still, Camila was overjoyed to be in the spacious house and lush natural surroundings for the first time. Many flowers were blooming on the vast property of my in-laws' home. "Mommy, this is for you," Camila said, approaching me with 5 dandelions clutched in her hand. She gave me a present. "Camila, thank you," I replied. Camila dashed back out to the garden. Just then, my mother-in-law called out to me, "Luna, I didn't get enough stuff for the party. Could you go out and get some more? Camila, come inside the house." Judging it unsafe to leave Camila playing outside alone, I decided to have my mother-in-law watch her inside. "Could you please watch Camila?" I asked. I know. Hurry up and go. Camila, come here," my mother-in-law said, still with her back turned to me, embracing Camila, who had run up to her. I felt a bit uneasy leaving Camila with her, but I had no one else to rely on, so I went out shopping alone. When I returned home from shopping, I couldn't find Camila anywhere. "Mother, where's Camila?" I asked. I don't know. She said she was going to where her mommy was." "What? She didn't come to me?" I searched the house and surrounding area in a panic, but Camila was nowhere to be found. How far could she have walked on her 3-year-old legs? Could she have wandered into those woods behind my in-laws' house? It was a dense forest. I thought perhaps she had gotten lost in there. "Camila, where are you? Answer me. It's Mommy, Camila." I searched, shouting myself hoarse, but I heard no reply from Camila. My husband rushed over after I contacted him. "It's not your fault," he consoled me as I grieved in despair. "It's no use searching anymore." Before long, my mother-in-law started saying things like, "Please report it to the police and ask the locals to help search for her." Not wanting to give up, I earnestly bowed my head and pleaded with my mother-in-law. No way, it would look bad to get the police involved, and it's the mother's fault for taking her eyes off her child in the first place. "I'm sorry, but we have to look for Camila instead of arguing. She's only 3 years old, Mother. Camila's life is more important than appearances. I'll go ask them." "Well, if you insist, John, I suppose I have no choice," my mother-in-law said, reluctantly convinced by John's plea. She contacted the locals. I thought that at least John was on my side. "Thank you, honey. I'll contact the police now too, Luna. I think it's better if you hold off on that for now." "Why?" "We need to find her as soon as possible. The sergeant here is new to the area and doesn't know his way around. He probably wouldn't be much help. The police might also prioritize searching for a suspect over finding Camila. Let's have just the locals search for now," John said. I was so distraught over Camila's disappearance that I decided to follow my husband's thinking. However, despite many people coming out to help search, Camila was not found. "We need to contact the police. You're right, I'll go now," John said an hour later, returning home. He said the search area was being expanded deep into the mountains. The possibility of someone taking her was also being investigated. "Please let her be found soon and unharmed," I prayed. But no matter how much we searched, Camila wasn't found. 4 days after she went missing, my husband took me back to our own home. After that, I was so worried about Camila that I started visiting my in-laws by myself many times to search the mountains and surrounding areas. "I thought you said you couldn't come because of work. I guess you just didn't want to come. What a cold-hearted daughter-in-law. I can't stand the sight of you," my mother-in-law said, growing hostile. Eventually, I was no longer able to go near my husband's family home. Looking back, maybe I should have searched without telling my mother-in-law, but I was so distraught that I couldn't think clearly. Even in this situation, John was always supportive of me. "I've had it. I'm cutting ties for good with my mother who keeps being so cruel to you, Luna," he suddenly declared to me one day. "Are you sure that's okay? I can't forgive anyone who makes you suffer, even if it's my parent. And I want you to stop searching for Camila. I'm worried about your health." Ever since our daughter went missing, I couldn't sleep at night, couldn't keep food down, and before I knew it, I had wasted away to skin and bones. Persuaded by my husband, I decided to believe that someone must be taking care of Camila and the police would find her soon. I started focusing on caring for our son, Sean, trying not to think about Camila as much as possible. I never forgot about my daughter, but it was all I could do. The day my daughter disappeared from my in-laws, her shoes were left at the front door. She couldn't have gone far. I kept telling myself she would be found soon and tried to turn my attention to my son as much as possible. Sean was worried about his sister too, but he tried to encourage me. Our son was extremely perceptive. There had been many instances that made me feel he had some kind of uncanny power beyond just intuition. For example, if I was looking for something without saying anything, Sean would often bring me the very thing I was searching for. One time he even helped save me. One morning, as I was walking Sean to daycare, he muttered, "Mommy, did you lock up? I have a feeling you forgot to lock the door just now." Since my perceptive son said this, I thought something might happen, so we hurried back home. Sure enough, just as Sean had said, we saw a suspicious man entering through the unlocked front door. I instinctively shouted, "A thief!" loudly. The perpetrator immediately came back out, shoved me aside, and ran away. The perpetrator's fleeing figure was caught on a neighborhood security camera, so the police were able to arrest him. After incidents like this kept happening, I became convinced Sean's power was real. However, when I told my husband about it, he just said it was creepy and didn't believe it. After that, I stopped mentioning it to him. 3 months after Camila disappeared, Sean suddenly said, "Camila is calling for me." His words made me pause. I believed in my son's power, so I listened to his story in detail. Sean said he wasn't sure, but Camila was in trouble and wanted to see Grandma. He pleaded with me to take him there, Hearing my son's story, I became convinced Camila was still near my in-laws' house. I told John that Sean was saying this, so we should go visit his parents' house one more time. We cut ties with my awful mother. There's no need to go there now. You must be crazy to believe a story like that. John vehemently opposed going to his parents' home with a grim expression. But something about his reaction felt off to me. A few days later, I decided to visit my in-laws' house with Sean without telling my husband. Sean kept repeating that he wanted to go to Grandma's house soon. Just in case, when I messaged my husband that we were headed to his parents, he kept telling me, "Absolutely do not go." I grew more suspicious that something strange was going on. Before long, Sean and I arrived at my in-laws. When I quietly entered the unlocked house, Sean pulled my hand and headed upstairs with sure steps. Then, pointing to the attic on the second floor, he shouted, "Open this up right now! Someone is calling for help!" Help? What? I hadn't even known this house had an attic. Of course, Sean wouldn't have known either, so I found it very strange when he suddenly said this. Could it be? I opened the door, half in doubt, and a shocking sight greeted my eyes. In the dim attic room, a little girl's eyes were open wide. It was Camila, my beloved daughter who I had been searching for these past 3 months. "Camila, my daughter!" She was so weak she could barely make a sound. "I finally found you!" The moment I hugged Camila, tears spilled out. "It's okay now," I said. Camila managed to murmur, "Mommy, Grandma locked me up. My arm hurts." "No way!" I was at a loss for words from the shock. My mother-in-law had been involved in Camila's disappearance, and Camila's arm was badly swollen and broken. "It's all right now. Mommy will protect you from Grandma." Sean also gazed at Camila with concern. It was thanks to my son that I was able to find my daughter. I heard a noise downstairs. My mother-in-law might come to check on Camila, I thought. I needed to hurry. "I have to contact John first," I said, taking out my phone from my bag. As I did so, I noticed in my single-minded focus on rescuing Camila that I had a ton of missed calls from my husband. "Hello, John," I said. "Luna, I'm heading there now, too. Do not talk to any of the locals." John started saying something nonsensical about not trusting the country's people. He sounded very flustered for some reason. Still, why was he so against me interacting with the locals who had helped search for Camila when she first disappeared? "Where are you now?" "At the station, waiting for the bus," I lied to my husband, getting a bad feeling. He seemed suspicious, like something was off. I quietly left the house with the children. Then I decided to stop by one house in particular. It was the home of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, who had helped search for Camila 3 months ago. Hey, pause for a moment. Would you care to support us? Like this video and subscribe for more. Now, let's dive back into the story. "Hello, we found Camila," I said to them. They looked at me with very puzzled expressions. "What are you talking about? Wasn't this child found right after that?" What do you mean?" "Your mother-in-law told us she was found in the shed soon after you left," Mr. Smith explained further. "That can't be," I said, baffled. According to Mr. Smith, my mother-in-law had told them, "My cheating daughter-in-law ran off with just her son, so I'm going to raise the abandoned Camila." "That's a lie!" I vehemently denied it. Mr. Smith tilted his head, saying, Seems the story we heard was different." The locals had seen my husband returning to his hometown occasionally and taking walks with Camila, so they had believed the story my mother-in-law told them. So John was deceiving me too, along with his mother. "This is too cruel!" The realization that my husband and mother-in-law had been lying to me while I worried for 3 whole months made my body shake with anger and frustration. Just then, my son Sean quietly took my hand. "Mommy, I'm glad we found Camila." He smiled and gently held Camila's hand. With his other hand, he patted her head. Though Camila was still weak, she finally looked up at me and managed to smile. I gave the exhausted Camila some water and food. She could still only eat a little, but it helped restore some of her strength. "I'm so glad, Mommy. You didn't stop loving me after all," she said, tears spilling down her cheeks. It seems my mother-in-law had been brainwashing her, telling her, "Your mommy left because she hates you." But when Camila protested, saying, "Mommy would never stop loving her and she wanted to see me," she was beaten so badly her arm was broken. I told Camila through my tears how I had never stopped searching for her this whole time. "Mommy never forgot about you for a single day. We'll always be together from now on." Camila nodded in understanding. She was only 3 years old. Imagining how scared she must have been, I felt my body burn with rage. More than anything, I couldn't forgive my mother-in-law for doing this to my daughter. Unforgivable. Seeing our exchange, Mr. and Mrs. Smith offered to help. I quickly called my mother-in-law and husband to let them know I was at the Smiths' house. My mother-in-law was the first to come running in a panic. "You have some nerve snatching my granddaughter away." She flew into a rage and tried to attack me, but was held back by Mr. and Mrs. Smith. "She's my daughter. You lied about her going missing and deceived me. That's not Camila. She's my daughter's child." My mother-in-law tried to claim Camila was my sister-in-law's child. "No, she's my sister Grandma." "Why are you lying?" Camila said, writing the story. "That's right. The story we heard was different. This is John's child, isn't she?" Mr. Smith confronted my mother-in-law. She faltered and avoided eye contact. Then she tried to forcibly take Camila from me, but my son stepped in to stop her. Still, she refused to back down. "Stop it! Can't you see she doesn't want to go with you?" Mr. Smith also intervened, trying his best to protect my daughter. "Luna, what do you think you're doing? I thought I cut ties with my family." "We're leaving then." John came running over, pale-faced, and told me this. "I won't be fooled anymore. It was you who took Camila away from me. Don't be ridiculous. I've always been on your side, haven't I?" I glared sharply at my husband as he kept trying to deceive me. "I can't trust you anymore. I've decided I'm never letting go of this child again. I don't know any kid like that. Camila is gone. Give it up." My husband kept denying it, even with our daughter right in front of him. Hearing this, Camila looked stricken and said, "What's wrong, Daddy? Did you forget who I am?" "I don't know you." John continued to hurl cruel words at her. "I won't forgive this. This time I'm going straight to the police myself," I said. "Even if you say such an outlandish thing, they'll just laugh it off as a family quarrel." My husband tried to escape responsibility somehow, but it wouldn't work. "I have evidence," I said. Thinking it might come in handy someday, I had kept a detailed record of the circumstances around Camila's disappearance. I had written down every little thing that happened afterward, too, so I had also taken photos on my phone of Camila confined in the attic room. "I don't know anything about that. It was all my mother's doing. I had nothing to do with it," John said. "John, what are you saying now? Weren't you the one who told me to give Camila to your lonely mother?" "Mom, stop. Don't say any more," my husband argued with his mother, who kept pretending ignorance to the end, and they started fighting. Amidst their mutual recriminations as they tried to justify themselves, the whole truth came to light. On the day my daughter disappeared, John had conspired with his mother. He took Camila from the back door of the house and drove her away in a car parked some distance away. He temporarily left her with his sister, who lived in another city. Once things cooled down, he brought Camila back to his parents' house where his mother could find her. No wonder we couldn't find her no matter where we searched. "So that's why you pretended to cut ties with your parents and kept me away from here," I said. "That's right. But then you went and brought Sean here on your own. None of this would have come out if you hadn't done that. This whole incident was orchestrated by my husband, sacrificing our daughter Camila to ease his mother's loneliness. You're the worst, only thinking of yourself," I said. "I had no choice. I had to give her to Camila, my mother. She was so happy to have a granddaughter. She insisted on being with Camila no matter what. You would have objected if I told you, right?" John appeared to defend me. It was just an act by him and his mother to keep me from reporting it. They only told the locals they wanted help searching for a child. Of course, my husband never went to the police either. I was completely deceived. "I'm sorry, so let's not go to the police. Camila was alive this whole time, as you can see," John said. "That's right. It's your fault for not bringing the grandkids to visit, and we're family, aren't we?" his mother added. "How could I possibly forgive this? Camila was abused to the point of having broken bones. I'll never forgive you. I never want to see your faces again," I said, feeling intense anger towards my unrepentant mother-in-law and husband who had starved my daughter and beaten her badly enough to break bones. I stared them straight in the face and forcefully rejected them. Just then, the sound of police sirens, which Mr. Smith had called, started approaching. When the officers arrived, I showed them the photos of my daughter confined and her broken arm. My mother-in-law and husband were promptly put in the police car and taken away. Afterward, my husband and mother-in-law were interrogated and arrested. I divorced John and filed for alimony and child support for both kids. I also filed a claim against my mother-in-law. Fearing a harsher sentence, she sold off her land and assets to pay me a lump sum. My ex-husband was fired from his company after being found guilty. I heard he's working multiple part-time jobs now to make the payments. Incidentally, my ex-mother-in-law and ex-husband still live in the same area, but the community shuns them now. Well, that's only natural after they deceived everyone. I'm living peacefully with my 2 children now without my ex-husband knowing where we are. Camila's arm and emotional scars have healed. Her big brother, Sean, takes good care of her. I'm truly happy now. Let's conclude the story shortly. The truth was out, the lies exposed. Justice had been served. My ex-husband and mother-in-law faced the consequences of their actions. I, on the other hand, found solace in the unwavering love of my children, Sean and Camila. They were my world, my everything. The pain of Camila's ordeal will always be a part of our story, but it was a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the power of a mother's love. We were a family, stronger than ever, ready to face whatever life threw our way. The ordeal had been a nightmare, but we had emerged from it, scarred but not broken. Life was a new chapter filled with hope and the promise of a brighter future. And that, my friends, is where our story ends. After experiencing the full journey of our story, we'd love to hear your thoughts. How did the story resonate with you? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay blessed. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.